Does Ukraine have a problem with corruption? Clearly. Does this give Western countries the right to point fingers at self-serving bull? As the U.S. Government Accountability Office reported, the amount of unemployment insurance programs during the COVID-19 pandemic was likely between $100 billion and $135 billion. This amounts to 11% and 15%, respectively, of the total UI aid paid during the pandemic. Approximately the same amount is suspected to have been transferred to Ukraine from Western aid. German news magazine Der Spiegel explains why Austria is attractive Putin's oligarchs since Vladimir Putin came to power. Wealthy Russians have increasingly flocked Austria, attracted by a very special welcoming culture. As Elisabeth Schimpfössl of the University of Birmingham puts it succinctly, money can open doors in Austria. Squeaky clean Estonia has also had its share of problems lately. Prime Minister Kaja Kallas' husband still owns shares of a company doing business in Russia, despite his country's strong support for Ukraine. In his defense, Kallas pointed out similarities with controversy regarding Akshata Murty, wife of British Prime Minister, who was revealed to have received dividends from her shares in Infosys, an IT services company operating in Russia last year. London, Paris, Berlin, New York, many other cities and offshore paradises welcomed all forms of Russian money in the banking real estate sectors. The UK tried tighten its rules in 2022 but with little success. The UK's experience highlights the challenges faced by governments trying to increase transparency, combat illicit flows of funds. The United States is no stranger to high-level corruption either. Former presidents and their spouses receive astronomical speaking fees. Former government officials routinely use their connections on behalf of the private sector. The Supreme Court's landmark 2010 decision lifting the ban on companies spending money on behalf of candidates in political campaigns effectively legalized bribery. Then there is Hunter Biden and, much worse, Donald Trump. And who can forget former German Chancellor Helmut Kohl's slush fund or former French President Jacques Chirac's conviction for embezzling public funds while mayor of Paris? Or the Qatar corruption scandal involving senior officials of the European Parliament in 2022. The European Commission concluded in 2014, the scale of corruption in Europe is breathtaking, and costs the EU economy at least €120 billion a year. EU Home Affairs Commissioner Cecilia Malmstroem. The real cost of corruption is probably much more than €120 billion. He said it was high. In fact, according to Malmstroem, the scale of the problem in Europe is breathtaking. Ukraine would, of course, be lucky to have the European Union's breathtaking levels of corruption. As Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index and the World Bank's Doing Business Index show, Ukraine still has